Hello, and thanks for listening to One More Thing. I'm your host, Tayeri Apia, and today we have a very special guest coming from High Springs, Miss Katherine Weitz. Hello, Katherine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. It's great to have you on the show on One More Thing.
I appreciate you having me.
So tell me, I hear that you are running for, is it High Springs City Commission?
Yeah, I ran the last election, and I am definitely interested in running again. There's 2 seats coming up for election in November this year. So, yep, definitely something I'd like to do.
And are you from High Springs, or where are you from?
I'm originally from Boston, but I've lived in High Springs. My husband and I have lived out here for 25 years, I guess. So yeah, I'm pretty much from High Springs now.
Oh yeah. So I guess it's safe to say that you probably like High Springs more than Boston, right?
I really do.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the pace is much more to my liking.
Yeah. I can definitely understand that. I'm from New York, and I'd never go back.
Well, I mean, it's okay to go visit just for a short time, but then you got to get back to the green open spaces. So,
Exactly. I 100% agree. So are you
yeah,
married, or you have a
I
family?
am. I am. My husband and I have been married 26 years.
Wow.
We have 3 kids. Our son is 20, and he graduated Santa Fe High School 2019, and he's in the electrician's apprentice program right now at Santa Fe. And our 18-year-old daughter just graduated Newberry High School a week and a half ago
Oh,
as valedictorian of her class. We were very proud of her. Um,
congratulations.
and she is headed to mom and dad's alma mater. She's going to USF to study architecture.
Wow.
And our youngest is also a girl, and she is 13, and she is a rising 8th grader at Oakview Middle School. And she is just more fun than I can ever even express. She's a hoot.
Wow. You must be very, very proud, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm ridiculously proud. They're all incredibly unique in their own way, but just really, really cool people, which is the fun part about being a parent. So
So what do you do? What do you do for a living when you're not trying to do this race? I'm sure you have a job, or you
I
retired,
do,
or
I do.
okay.
I used to. My husband and I both got our degree in chemistry. That's how we met at school.
Oh,
And I worked in the engineering and science world for a long time until a couple years ago. The pace was just not to my liking anymore. I'm almost 55, so I was looking to downshift a little bit. So right now, I actually work in the trades. I manage an office for a local electrician. So it's very, very fun work. It's probably the most fun I've ever had working. Um, but I've got a pretty strong science background, which is one of the reasons why I really wanted to run for High Springs City Commission to bring some pretty unique skill set to the table here. So,
oh, that's perfect. That was leading into my next question. Is what's making you run for city commission? Was there like a catalyst of some sort?
well, yeah, for sure. Utilities are a huge issue for any municipality, but for us here in High Springs, the wastewater treatment plant has become a real problem because they just got a little bit more capacity out of their current plant, but they're pretty much out of room. So
Wow.
they don't they're working on. We have a new assistant city manager, and he's fabulous. He used to be our fire chief, and he's very, very plugged in. Um, but they're kind of backs against the wall right now because they don't have capacity to do much in the way of expansion, and there are people who want to develop out here a bunch, and we just can't. We don't have the infrastructure to do it. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned with number one, the plant that they're putting in. I have some questions about why they're going one route and not another. Um, and they kick the can down the road. That unfortunately, the current city commission is their backs are against the wall through, in large part, no fault of some of their own. Um, and I think that I speak the engineering speak, and I worked in groundwater quality and wastewater quality for a lot of years. So I understand really uniquely what's going on here.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah. It seems like you're a perfect person for that.
Well, there's a lot that I don't know too. There's a ton that I would have to learn by
Yeah.
all means, but But I think to have somebody that could actually speak to the engineers about what they're designing and ask questions, I think that would be a big value for the community at large. So
And when you say like there isn't as much space for infrastructure, are you talking about just regular commercial buildings, or are you talking about specifically like the wastewater?
I'm talking specifically about wastewater.
Okay.
They have a plant that's probably 20 years old now, and it's almost at capacity. They just can't take any more wastewater into the plant. So if they want to develop and they want to, have people build homes out here, they're not going to have anywhere for them to hook up to. They just don't have the capacity. So they have a second plant has already been designed,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't know how they're going to pay for it. So they're trying right now to figure that out, and they're going through their budgeting process at the moment. But I've always been the kind of person that you live within your means, and
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it's a good idea to borrow for 20 years for something that's going to get you 8 or 10 years of capacity. That's just not a good idea. So I'm
Yeah.
waiting to see. I'm waiting to see how they proceed with that. And they're trying. They're trying to be really creative. But I think that they need to have somebody in at the Swanee River Water Management District board meetings all the time. We need
Mm-hmm.
to get money back from them. They need to give us back our tax dollars so that we can build the plant. So
So what kind of is that the only type of problems that arise from this wastewater situation? Is new
well,
homes can't be
no,
built and hooked up, or is there other problems too?
no, there are other problems as well.
Oh wow.
I mean, they could build some homes, but just not many. And
Mm-hmm.
part of any city is carefully managed growth for sure. But another problem that they're having right now is there was a Florida Springs Act passed in 2016, I think, and it tightened controls in terms of how much nitrogen you can put in the ground with treated wastewater. So they have to change what they're doing right now. They have a traditional wastewater treatment plant, and it discharges, I think, 2 million gallons per week to a traditional spray field. They
Mm-hmm.
can't keep on doing that anymore. So what they've decided to do, and this was voted on some years ago, was they wanted to migrate over to a wetlands discharge system, which is really cool. It's a really, really cool idea, but it's also incredibly expensive, and we don't have the money for that.
Yeah.
So there's some other options. They could redesign the second plant to be advanced water treatment, which I think is what they should have done anyway, because then they can use all of the current systems that they have already in place. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. They don't have to permit and build and maintain the wetlands. So I think that they need to be asking some different questions that they're not asking. So,
Oh wow.
and
So now you might have answered this. I might have not heard it, but how do you even know all of this? Is this because of your job? Because I would think
yeah, yeah.
that. Okay.
When I worked in the engineering world, a big part of my job in one of the companies was doing groundwater monitoring around landfills. So I know a fair bit about solid waste as well, but I also worked with wastewater treatment plants as well. So I'm really well versed in terms of the regulatory side of all of that. And leachate, or not leachate, that's at a landfill. The wetlands discharge is a really unique idea, and it's very, very neat. If you can do it right, it brings in all kinds of birds, and if you spend many, many millions of dollars, you can make it into kind of a park. But it's also very expensive to maintain. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, anybody who lives in Florida knows that any ditches you see cattails all over the place. Well, every 8 to 10 years, you're going to have to go into that wetlands and get all those cattails out of there to the tune of $750,000 to $1 million. So in terms of O&M costs, that's tremendous. Right now, all of the operation and maintenance, for the most part, to the current wastewater treatment plant is done by city staff. They have a
Mm.
beautiful field where they discharge their wastewater. They mow it. They take care of it. So there's not a lot that you have to subcontract out. Well, they couldn't maintain the wetlands on their own, and those are costs that nobody's talking about. And for me, that's kind of the white elephant in the room that we need to be discussing, because that's a long-term cost.
Wow.
Um, and I think you need to be able to have visions 10 and 20 years out so that you can afford to do what you need to do.
Yeah. No.
So
Definitely. Would you say this? So if you were to get on the city commission, would you say this is is this one of your top priorities, or what would be your top priority?
It's definitely a big priority for me. Also, water quality, and something else that I've worked in. They have, I've met with the fabulous guy who runs our water plant, and they haven't had enough redundancy there. They have some issues with wells, but they are in the process of installing a third well. And I went over there and saw the well construction details and was able to look at what they were doing. So they're headed in the right direction for sure. And we have a new city manager here, and she is on task. She's very energetic. She's doing some great stuff.
What's her name?
Her name is Ashley.
Oh yeah.
And her last name is Greek, starts with an S. But she's come in just, wrapping her arms around all kinds of things, learning what goes on here. And I think she's great for the city of High Springs. In terms of financial perspective and managing finances, she's been a breath of fresh air. She doesn't seem to be the kind of person that wants to just borrow and keep borrowing and keep borrowing. And I really like that a lot. So.
Yeah, me too. I totally agree. I thought you're teaching me a lot already, because I thought in Gainesville we were the only one with utility issues.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I know Gainesville's special, but we've all got them. Everybody has them.
Yes,
it's
definitely.
Expensive. It's very, very expensive, and
It's
full
ridiculous.
disclosure, my husband works for GRU. He's a potable water chemist for the city of Gainesville. And so, I've got a bird's eye view into all kinds of things, and they do a great job in terms of water quality.
Mm-hmm.
But the city of Gainesville, running GRU the way they did, it's been a problem. So
These costs.
That's a whole nother beast, though.
Yes, definitely. So how have you been volunteering or already serving the city, would you say?
Well, honestly, more than anything else, I've been an active parent in the schools. Mm-hmm. To be honest, I'm a band mom. All three of my kids play instruments, and they know me personally at the library because my kids go there so much to get books. But so in terms of me plugging into High Springs, I've been fairly active as a resident, as a parent, and now I think that I've got, now that my kids are a little older, I've got the capacity to bump that up a notch. I go to city commission meetings pretty regularly now, so I'm trying to keep a finger on the pulse of what's going on.
Yes, definitely. When is the election?
November 2nd.
November 2nd this year. Okay.
Yeah. And you watch the different commissioners. We've got a really, really diverse group of people, and you can tell every one of them has a heart for this city. They really do. I don't question any of them in terms of their genuine heart for this city, really, truly. And they're all very lovely people.
Oh.
Okay.
So
I have no issue with any of them on a personal level at all. I just think that I think they need something a little different in terms of somebody who can bring a little something different to the table.
Yes, definitely, and you're that difference.
Mm-hmm. In so many ways.
What part of the neighborhood do you live in? Where are your favorite places to spend time at in your town?
Well,
where could we see Katherine?
You'll see Katherine at the library a lot.
Yeah.
You'll see Katherine at the Springs for sure. I love the kids, and I love going to the Springs. We spend a lot of time on the water too. We like to canoe and kayak up here. It's just the nicest getaway. But you see me a lot in my yard, in my gardens. I love growing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Fruits, vegetables, all kinds of things we've got growing up here. So.
Oh, you got that green thumb.
Well, it's been black over the years.
Oh.
It's gotten greener just through process of elimination. So.
I try to grow some stuff. I'm not so good at it.
Well,
tried a couple of times.
You learn as you go. So.
Yeah.
Blueberries are our favorite thing right now because they're just all over the place. We've got tons of blueberries. But yeah, I love being outside, and that's one of the reasons I love living up here is because there's so many things to do outside. So we have at our church, we've got a walking trail that goes a mile around the property, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, High Springs sounds like I've only went a couple of times to High Springs, but you're making it sound very beautiful. I didn't even know that you could kayak and canoe.
Oh Yeah, down the river. Oh, absolutely. It's fabulous. And the city's actually thinking about buying one of the canoe outposts right now, which is a really really cool idea. I support what they're trying to do right now. Because being outdoors up here, this community is, aside from the fact that it's pretty tight knit and small. I mean, our kids all went to High Springs Community School, and they knew full well that if they did something that they shouldn't have done at school, that mom and dad were going to know before they got home. And
Hmm.
that's just kind of the town it is. But it's a kind of place where kids, when you see them walking around, they're more apt to look up instead of looking down at their phones, because there's just
Oh,
so much to see up here, and I
that's good to
love that.
hear.
I love it.
That's almost unnatural to hear.
I know,
Good to
I
hear,
know.
almost unnatural to hear.
Even for my own kids, truly, absolutely. But when the birds and everything that's up here, it's amazing. So it's kind of that kind of community where everybody knows somebody when you're
Hmm.
walking down the street, and it's a tight knit community. It's been a fabulous place to raise a family, just almost surreal. Um, how fabulous it's been up here.
So what did you when you were in Boston and you were coming down here? How did you stumble upon High Springs? Was it?
Well, that was a rather circuitous route. My parents moved from Boston,
Uh huh.
so I actually grew up in Vero Beach, over on the east
Oh,
coast of
okay.
Florida.
Hmm.
So I grew up watching the Los Angeles Dodgers have spring training. So when I was a kid, school let out early when there were midweek games. So I liked baseball. Um, and then I left Vero Beach to Tampa to go to college, and then eventually ended up here for a job. My husband wasn't my husband yet, but I moved up here in '93 for a job, and then just never left.
Yeah.
Because Tampa was a nice place to live when I was young, but I sure wouldn't want to go back there. It's just the pace is a bit too much for me. Um,
High
so
Springs
yeah,
is too
I liked
nice.
it. Oh, High Springs was fabulous, and we stumbled on our house. It wasn't even for sale, and we found who owned it, and about a year later, finally closed on it. And it's an old farmhouse, really old farmhouse on 6.5 acres, and my parents live on property with us now. We moved them up here about 5 years ago. So it's we're living the dream.
Yeah. It sounds like a blessing.
It really is in so many ways.
So last question, Catherine.
Hmm.
We like to leave our viewers on the One More Thing podcast. We like to leave our viewers with one more thing to do, and what I want to point out is what could be the one more thing that our listeners could do for you to help you in your race or support you in any way.
They could spread the word. I mean, I know folks here in High Springs know me pretty well just because how long we've lived here, and our kids and all of the teachers. When we had a graduation party for my daughter last weekend, it was mostly her teachers that came to her party. So we're deeply invested and very very committed to this community. And I would love for people to support me because they know me. They
Hmm.
know that I am I'm a straight shooter. I'm not a, what you see is what you get. I don't play games, and I think people know that about me. And if I don't know something, I'm going to tell you I don't know, but I can find out.
Yeah.
But I think it would be unique to have somebody with a utility type of background and groundwater and drinking water, wastewater background to be able to help serve a community that has a real need for that right now. And give me an opportunity to learn all of the other stuff that I don't know for sure.
Great. Yeah, we definitely need more straight shooters. I can't stand when people beat around the bush,
Yeah,
or
there's no subterfuge with me. It's all straight up. So, um, but that's how I've lived my life.
yes, yes, that's great. Well, great to have you on the show. Thanks for being on One More Thing, Catherine. If you have anything else that you would like to say to the viewers or listeners.
Um, just that I would appreciate an opportunity to serve the community, truly, and in so many ways. Not just locally here, but I'm pretty active in the county, and really paying attention to the school board right now, and the county commission, and I would like to have an opportunity to serve folks around the area for sure.
Perfect. All right, Catherine. Thanks for being on One More Thing. We appreciated having you. You have a
Thank you. I
wonderful day.
appreciate it. All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.